reluctance all along. Joining me now are Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat from California. She serves on the Judiciary Committee, and Dana Milbank from the Washington Post. Thank you both for being here.
Good evening,
Thanks
Reverend.
for having us.
Congresswoman Bass, I have to ask you first, did you think this day would ever come?
Well, I tell you, I was really beginning to wonder. The only thing that made me think it would come was the way they went after Attorney General Holder. The question was, did you actually really want him to leave? Well, if you wanted him to leave, then confirm Loretta Lynch. And finally, they did it. 100 days late.
Yeah, I'd say at least 100 days late. Dana, though, what do you make of Senator Cruz skipping this vote, apparently for a fundraiser?
Well, Reverend, I hear he may be running for president, but I think it
That's
is
a funny way to run, not to vote on the Attorney General of the United States.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is sort of it's a perfect bookend to the whole thing that began as this farce and ended the same way. But it shows the extent to which, over the next 18 months or so, how the business of the Congress and of the Senate is basically going to be hijacked by the presidential aspirations of Marco Rubio and Rand Paul and Ted Cruz and whoever else decides they want to get involved there. So I think this is really a taste of things to come. It was pointless, but it did some real damage here. I mean, you know, for the Republicans managed to keep a man they don't want on the job in the job longer. But more to the point, Loretta Lynch now has much less time to serve, to get her people in place, and to run the United States Justice Department the way it should be run. So they've really done the country a disservice, not just Loretta Lynch.
Congresswoman, let's look at how the 2016 GOP contenders voted here. Senator Cruz, as we said, didn't show up. Senator Graham voted yes. Senators Paul and Rubio voted no. Did Paul and Rubio need those no votes for the GOP primary, you think?
Well, I think that's absolutely right. I think that's exactly what they're doing. And, you know, one of the things that people really have to realize, in these 100 days when we were waiting for her to be confirmed, work at the Justice Department has been stalled. So a lot of things that needed to happen have not happened. So it wasn't just a matter that a confirmation was lingering, but this really has hurt the country. And frankly, I am so excited about her confirmation because I hope that she continues the tradition of Eric Holder, especially in regard to criminal justice reform, something that our country has desperately needed.
And voting rights as well.
Absolutely.
But you know, Dana, there was a lot of pressure today on Republicans up for re-election next year in states that President Obama won twice. Here's how they all voted. 4 in favor, 3 against. How could those yes and no votes affect them as they try to get re-elected in blue states, Dana?
Well, look, it depends on how this election's shaping up, but this is going to be a presidential year, and in the last several cycles, Democrats have done a lot better in the presidential year. So I don't think it's at all surprising that Rob Portman, who's got a serious challenge in Ohio, would want to take this issue away from the Democrats, or that Kelly Ayotte in New Hampshire would want to do the same thing. You know, just as the Republican presidential candidates need this to whip up the base, there are others there who actually looking at the broader electorate and not just looking at the primary electorate, and they're realizing that voting against the first African-American woman to be the Attorney General after a half-a-year delay would probably be a good idea to just let it go through at that point.
You know, Congresswoman, when President Obama nominated Loretta Lynch, she made a promise to the American people. Listen to this.
Sure.
If I have the honor of being confirmed by the Senate, I will wake up every morning with the protection of the American people my first thought. And I will work every day to safeguard our citizens, our liberties, our rights, and this great nation, which has given so much to me and my family.
Congresswoman, what do you think a Loretta Lynch Justice Department will look like?
I think the Loretta Lynch Justice Department is going to be excellent. I'm excited about her confirmation, really look forward to working with her. You mentioned Voting Rights Act, and we need to do everything we can to protect voting rights around the nation and really look at the whole voter suppression that's happening right now in our country that, as far as I'm concerned, is just a 21st century version of the poll tax. And I know that she will be there fighting hard against the voter suppression, and I look forward to working with her, as well as the criminal justice reform, as I mentioned earlier.
Dana, what do you think it will look like? What is your guess?
Well, I suspect we won't see a huge amount of change, if only because he has such a short period of time to serve on the job. But I think one thing you will see is a change in the relationship with Congress. The relationship between Holder and Congress had just gotten so toxic over the years, and he clearly had very little use for them after a while. And I think you're going to see a fresh leaf turned there, which is all the more reason why it was silly that the Republicans held us up for so long.
Congresswoman, before I let you go, I know you serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the
Yes.
African subcommittee of that committee, and I have been raising that I'm very disturbed. There's been more attention given to some things going on in Africa, like the 900 that went down on the migrant boat in Libya the other day. Almost no notice, no rallying. 200 girls a year later still missing in Nigeria. I mean, how do you respond to that, and how do you respond to the almost deafening silence about it as a priority in this country, even in the media?
Well, first of all, Rev, I just have to thank you for your coverage. I think it's so important to bring attention to this. This is just horrible. I mean, over the weekend, you know, close to 900 people died. I mean, this year alone, a couple of thousand people have died. People are fleeing Libya. This really is an international problem. And frankly, I hope that the EU steps up in a much bigger way, because these people that are leaving Libya are dying off the coast of Italy. And we need to do everything we can as the international community. But the EU obviously has to take the lead on this.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Congresswoman Karen Bass, Dana Milbank,
Thank
you both for your time tonight.